You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Manitoba Show, Rise and Shine Manitoba, here on ASTV Productions. I am your host, Graeme Forsyth. Today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba is brought to you by AETi, Evolve Green, and Fabricland Winkler. Happy to be back here on this Wednesday morning, everybody. It's going to be a lot of fun today. I only got one guest joining the show today, and that's going to be Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach and marketing director of Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, to talk about just the early stages of recruiting for the academy at this point, the upcoming games that the academy has coming up in April, as well as the current dorm situation and the future for the graduating players and their future endeavors in hockey for the class of 2022. And I know in the description of this episode, I have Adam Wedlake joining the show as well to talk about basketball in Manitoba, but unfortunately he will be unable to join today's edition of the show due to having COVID-19. I just got his message about that about 30 minutes before showtime. So unfortunate. Hoping to have Adam on here and hoping he feels better in about 2 weeks. But yeah, stay tuned, everybody, for a special announcement on Graeme's opinion. Changing it up a bit. It will be a bit different moving forward, the way I will be talking about stuff in terms of what I'll be talking about there. But yeah, I can't wait to tell you guys about that, and can't wait to bring you guys another edition of a good edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV Productions. And first off, joining me is Gordie Tumilson here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. And you know what that means, Manitoba. Once the intro hits, it's time to rise and shine here on ASTV Productions on Rise and Shine Manitoba. It's Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach and marketing director of Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, joining the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy segment on this Wednesday morning on Rise and Shine Manitoba. Gordie, always great to have you on the show. Not talking about past games or anything this week on the show, but talking more so about the future recruitment. Of course, the recruitment process underway for the academy at this point. Talk about how the process has been going at this point, the early stages of recruitment.
Well, the show doesn't have enough time to talk about recruitment, but we'll try and give you as best a version as we can here, or a short version. Yeah, we've last week we held our sort of coaches and ownership meeting, and had a great session talking about recruitment in particular. This is of course, this is the lifeblood of any sports organization, is finding those players to fill in the gaps and replace people that are not coming back for whatever reasons. And so we set out a pretty adventurous plan earlier on in the year, kind of finalized things on Thursday evening, and all of the coaches, ownership group, our regional scouts system is all kicked into gear, and now we're chasing everybody that can do a crossover and skate a little bit better backwards and stop a puck and score a goal. So we're working really hard on that, and so we've got a lot of things in motion at one time. We've even got a fellow down in Florida taking a look at some stuff. There's a girls' college tournament down there, and I think I've landed a good friend of mine who's playing hockey down there at the moment in the pro leagues to go and do some scouting for us. I hope so. That's how far reaching we go. And of course, we're also in Europe chasing people. We've got some people over there that we rely on to get our message out, etc. And I know ASTV is growing and going to Europe and to many other U.S. Cities. And so we rely on the media to help us out as well. And you guys are our main media, so thank you.
Yeah, of course, Gordie. Great to be considered the main media there for Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, of course. But, of course, marketing into different places now, into the States. Of course, you guys have marketed there before, but pulling into Europe as well. Just different places where Pilot-Mound is marketing at this point. Now, this is a question that popped up into my head as you were, talking, giving your answer. Is that does the way that Pilot-Mound recruits, like obviously the message is the same behind like the morals of what the academy is and stuff like that, the values, but does it change a bit of how you market to these different, I guess, places in the world, if it's Europe compared to Manitoba, so on and so forth?
Well, sure. I think the big thing is that we try and have answers for the parents. Every family has a different question or two. There's generic thoughts. How much ice time do the kids get? Those kinds of things. What's the school like? And then we get into how did you handle COVID? What happens if something else? Are there hospitals, close by? What's all of those kinds of things. Is there a pharmacy in small little Pilot-Mound, Manitoba? Where's the sports shop? How do we get our skates sharpened? All of those questions come up, and we do have answers for all of them now after the organization's been there now 7 full years, and so we've pretty much touched on everything. And there's a little bit of an education progress for some of our scouts and some of our coaches, and because they don't have all of those answers or haven't had the questions yet. So yeah, of course there's the girls have more different questions than the boys have, et cetera, and all those kinds of things. So yeah, it's a wide ranging sort of education process for each family that we talk to, based on, as you said, so what we offer in a general package, and then which is education, hockey development, and community, and maturing and growing up and all those things. So right. It's a pretty big deal, and there's lots of different stuff, but it's all locked into a pretty neat package now that we've been doing this for a while.
Well, for any goaltenders out there watching, this is the guy you're gonna have to work with. So get used to that, please. Right? Yeah, Gordie. Probably gonna warn you, be cautious with working with him, because he's such a mean guy. Hey.
Oh yeah, oof, terrible dude.
Of course, we'll talk more about recruitment as the weeks go along here on Rise and Shine Manitoba when we have you on the show, Gordie. But let's move over to some games and tournaments that are going to be played in April. Pretty sure we touched on them a bit last week, but let's touch on them some even more here. Touching on them, going further into depth about the upcoming games and tournaments that will be played in April for the Academy.
Sure. Well, just like our recruitment program, you can go on our website and kind of get all this information on the homepage or on our individual team schedules. So it's a pretty slick website now. Carson McConnell runs that out of Pilot-Mound. And it tells us everything. But in the meantime, we've got a couple of exhibition games for our girls against St. Mary's coming up in April. We have the girls have a tournament at the end of April. Our U15 boys are going to Minneapolis in the middle of April, and then to Calgary for a major tournament. In the early part of May, and the U17 boys have got a tournament or an exhibition series, I guess, up in Saskatoon in a couple of weeks in Saskatoon against the Indigenous Sports Academy, which is we've forged a pretty nice relationship with that group. It's been we're sort of on the same sort of playing field with them as they grow into a new organization and getting past COVID and ourselves. So it's been a pleasure to have this new organization in the league, and we're pleased to have an extra series against them to kind of finish off our season. And then, of course, we've got again on the website. We have locked into our recruitment is our evaluation camps and things like that coming up in April. So there's lots going on with it. The games may have ended, but the other part of our season just began. It's recruitment and finishing off the season, and there's some player awards that have to be handled, and and the kids are finishing up school, and it's so it's quite a busy time, even though games are almost come to an end.
Well, we got it as the ticker down below here on the screen right now. If you want to check out all things Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, be sure to visit their website at pilotmoundhockeyacademy.com. But Gordie, we'll stay up to date on those games and tournaments as they come closer to the date that once we talk about them, we'll talk about them, of course, here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. But talking about the dorms, the progress, what's been happening there?
Well, the outside skin, the frame, of course, and the outside skin on the dorms, I think, is just about done. So we've got a roof on this thing, or partial, and they're working towards that this week. So we've got a shell, I guess, to begin putting the guts of the dorms together. It's quite an impressive building. It becomes the sort of biggest building, I guess so. As you go in the city, there's an apartment block back in sort of into town by the school, but this building is going to be pretty neat, right at the four-way stop in Pilot-Mound. We haven't got a street light there yet, or stop. We just got stop signs, but we're working on that. And I guess I didn't know this until just recently, but there were 4 very large elevators. Grain elevators right at the spot where the four-way stop is and where the new dorms are. So it was they've been taken down and replaced by a street, and now the dorms and some houses and some stores. So it's that whole corner for the people that have grown up in Pilot-Mound is a whole new place for them, and that's pretty neat. I think as time has passed, but the dorms are coming. They'll be up and ready to go, sort of as the season comes along, and we'll be, and the players, of course, the ones that are returning will have the benefit of going from our temporary dorms, which have been okay, into a pretty select new facility, $2 million plus facility. So it's going to be a neat deal, and Tammy Collins and his group have been working really hard to get this thing ready. They worked through all that 40 below outside to get this thing done. My gosh, I as I would walk by the guys working, I'd just say, how in the world can you do this? So they just keep plugging away with a hammer and a drill and knocking things up, and there it is. It's ready to go. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun.
Well, the construction workers built differently for sure to work through that. And yeah, for the returning players as well as the new additions to the academy, going to be pretty sweet for them to enjoy the luxuries, the perks of having the new dorms coming into Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy. But let's talk about one last thing here, Gordie. You said something about graduating players being courted. Now, does that mean they're getting married? What's exactly going on?
Yeah, they're being courted by various teams out there in the real world. I knew when I put that word in there, that was a special term, and I'm glad you caught it. But what happens, of course, as the season goes along, and that's why we're on ASTV and Hockey TV, and we play games, and scouts show up and watch, and is that and the whole purpose of academy hockey is to develop players so they can move on to the next level, and we try and get as many of those kids moving on as we possibly can. We do a lot of that work ourselves in terms of touching base with various teams, colleges, universities, junior hockey teams, et cetera, in North America, and we And so we're promoting the kids, and of course the kids are promoting themselves. And we hope that all of our graduating players end up, moving on upwards, getting tryouts at least, and signing. Last year we had 8 girls graduate, and we had 8 girls sign onto college universities or universities. And so we felt really good about that. All of our boys ended up moving into junior hockey in some way, shape, or form. So we're proud of that kind of result. That's the deal. Sometimes we don't win the games, and sometimes we don't win championships. But the whole purpose of this is to develop team, develop community, but also develop individuals so they can move on in their careers. And we both on the education side and on the hockey side, and we think we've accomplished that for 6 years in a row now, and we're hoping that's the same result this year.
What's it looking like at this point? Obviously, these moves not being finalized yet of these players moving on to the next level. But what's the talks in terms of how many players we could be seeing moving on to play out at those next levels, like colleges and at universities as well as at the junior hockey level?
Well, I know we have a lead for every one of them. I mean, we have someone who will accept them in a tryout situation. In case of the boys in particular, there's a few that are going to sign. There's no doubt that'll sign with junior hockey programs, either in junior A or junior B, and then of course on the girls' side of things, we know that there's a lot of Division 1, 2, and 3 universities in the States, U Sports in Canada, and of course. An area that we haven't tapped too much in the past is community college hockey, i.e. Red River doesn't have a hockey program at the moment, but Assiniboine Community College in Brandon, and of course those kinds of schools in Saskatchewan and Alberta, SAIT and NAIT, and those kind of places where they have programs that aren't as well advertised, but where girls can continue their career and get a good education in the area that they're interested in. So we think we've got a spot for everybody, at least for a tryout, if not a signing. So, and we work to get them signed. That's our purpose, but sometimes that's not possible, but at least a chance to try out. And we think the kids are well prepared to do well in those situations.
Well, once announcements start coming in for the players that could be moving on, the graduating players will have that here for you all on Rise and Shine Manitoba on the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy segment here on Manitoba Show. But Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach and marketing director of Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, joining this Wednesday morning newscast, Rise and Shine Manitoba. As always, Gordie, you take care, and until next week when we do it all again on Wednesday, we'll see you then, man.
Thanks, Graeme.
Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach and marketing director of Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, the only guest on today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. Of course, as I mentioned in the intro of today's episode, was supposed to have Adam Wedlake on the show of Basketball Manitoba, executive director of Basketball Manitoba, but fortunately, due to him receiving COVID-19 and dealing with that right now, it's it'll have to wait a bit for me to have Adam on the show. So hoping to have him on in about 2 weeks here. And with that, doing it for the guest portion of today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. I'll come back after this commercial break to tell you about Graeme's opinion and what's changing there and what it's going to be looking like moving forward. You're watching Rise and Shine Manitoba, Manitoba's show on AETi Productions. Stick around for more after the commercial break.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right. I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance. Quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba, everybody. Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach and marketing director of Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, joined the show here to start things off to talk about the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy plans for recruitment, the upcoming games in April for the academy, as well as talking about the updated dorm situation. How's it been going there, as well as talking about graduating players potentially moving on to the next level. Always great to have a chance to talk to Gordie Tumilson. Always a blast having him on the show. And yeah, he's the only guest in today's episode. We'll have more people joining next week's episode for sure. And should be a lot of fun come next week. But staying in the present here, it's time for this week's edition of Graeme's Opinion. And over the past week, since last Wednesday, I've been doing a lot of thinking on this, and I'm deciding to change this segment up a bit. So, as you know, on Graeme's Opinion, I've been always talking about the Jets and talking about their past games, how they've been looking. Also talking about the NHL, the NFL as well. Really talking about pro sports, and decided since this is ASTV Productions, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to talk pro sports on this segment anymore. I am still going to talk sports, but from the amateur level. I guess the highest level of sports I would talk about would be college, which would be like March Madness or the Frozen Four for hockey and stuff like that, but not talking about the NHL anymore. Talking about amateur sports here, since this is ASTV Productions, which stands for Amateur Sports TV. So moving forward, I'll be talking about amateur sports, so maybe talking about junior leagues, AAA leagues from around Manitoba in the future, talking about, college leagues, like college basketball, the March Madness tournament, and also outside of that, I'm also going to be talking about, just things that I want to talk about, whether that be maybe talking about my favorite TV show or just that's one of the examples that could be used. But yeah, other than amateur sports, it would be stuff like that, as well as just telling stories maybe of stuff that's happened in my life that I find interesting and entertaining for you guys to potentially see. Maybe one time on Graeme's Opinion moving forward, I'll review for example, what chicken sandwich is better, Mary Brown's or Popeyes. So yeah, but no pro sports on this segment moving forward. It will be amateur sports and anything else, but no pro sports in there anymore. So let's start off with an amateur sports topic, talking about college basketball and talking about March Madness. Man, March Madness, March in general just flew by so quickly. And of course, as you know, 2 weeks ago, I ended up picking my bracket for March Madness. And let's take a look at what the bracket is looking like at this point. I'm hitting 70% apparently at this point. I got Villanova winning the championship, and let's see here. Yeah, my Final Four, it wasn't even close. I had Gonzaga going to the Final Four, which they lost in the round of 16 to Arkansas, and Arkansas later lost to Duke, so Duke's into the Final Four. I had Texas going to the Final Four, which was a huge mistake. And then it ended up being North Carolina. They defeated St. Peter's, who was the first ever 15 seed to make it to the Elite Eight, which is the final 8 teams. The one team I did get right, and they are the national championship I picked. Or not national championship. The national champion I picked is the Villanova team, and they ended up beating Houston 50-44 to make it into the next round. I heard they're banged up right now, so going up against a very good Kansas team that's been playing very good, a number 1 seed, who I had Wisconsin making it out, and yeah, I don't even remember where Wisconsin lost, but yeah, one of 4 teams right in the Final Four. And even before that, my bracket wasn't perfect, and that begs the question, why do people do March Madness brackets? I mean, it's such a big thing every single year. Even people who don't watch college basketball like myself usually pick March Madness brackets from, what I've heard in my life, what I've seen. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. And the thing is, it's basically impossible to get a perfect bracket. So, just looking at the chances, looking at this on the internet, if you search up chances of getting a perfect bracket in March Madness, first result that comes up on Google, at least for me on my browser, it says, here's the TLDR version of the odds of a perfect NCAA bracket. You got a 1 in over 9, let's say 9 trillion chance, I think, in getting it right if you just guess or you do a coin flip. If you flip a coin, you also got a 1 and 120.2 billion chance if you know a little something about basketball. So even if you know a bit about basketball, the odds are pretty low. And I assume if you're a basketball expert, when it comes to March Madness, when it comes to college basketball, even you won't get it right. And yeah, there's always just a bunch of upsets that happen. And, begs the question, why do we do it? I think for myself personally, the reason I always pick a March Madness bracket is because why not take a chance? I mean, when Warren Buffett is offering you a lot of money, his $1 million March Madness bracket challenge, and basically what it is that March Madness bracket pools. Let's see. Yeah, basically I heard like Warren Buffett will give you like $100 million every year for life if not $100 million, $1 million every year for life if you get a perfect bracket. So definitely that gives some incentive. But basically the reason why I love picking March Madness bracket is because why not? I mean, it's exciting. If you're going to watch the tournament, might as well have something to root for instead of just watching. For myself at least, I'm not huge into college basketball all year round until March Madness. But yeah, I think it just comes down to just the enjoyment for myself. And I know going in, I know when I started off doing March Madness brackets, I always expected to get a perfect bracket. But now that I got that out of the way, no expectations. It's a lot more fun picking the bracket, even though I always do end up getting it quite wrong. But hopefully Villanova is able to come away with the national championship. It's going to be tough, though. Would be awesome to at least get that right. But yeah, talking about something else here. Yeah, outdoor rink season. As you can see, I'm using a green screen, and right behind me is a picture of an outdoor rink. And it's crazy because we are in March now, almost April, and it's about way past when the ODRs start melting and stuff, and they already have. But yeah, in my opinion, ODR season always seems like it goes by too fast. ODR standing for outdoor rink. It's one of the best things, honestly, as a hockey player, skating in the elements. I mean, I'm not playing hockey anymore, but just loving the game, just skating in the elements, playing pickup hockey with friends. Just being in the elements of the sport, and being able to play in the outdoor rink in the elements is just a whole different feeling than skating in an indoor rink, right? So, yeah, I think that ODR season lasted longer this year, but it was definitely shorter than not shorter, but it definitely felt like it went by fast because I didn't really have a chance to get out to the ODR. But yeah, my opinion, if you do love hockey and you don't go to the ODR much, be sure to get out because it seems every single season, except for this year, the ODRs seem to melt faster and faster. So go out and enjoy it and cherish it because you never know. Maybe one day we won't have any more ODRs to go to due to what happens in the world with and in terms of the weather. At least here in Winnipeg, in Manitoba, with it melting, the ODRs melting pretty quickly. Actually, ODR season would end in February. I think last year it did, which is crazy. So go out and cherish it if you love playing hockey and you love being on the ODRs. For sure, take that time to skate on the ODRs because it's just such an unbelievable feeling. But let's move into talking. I'll move into talking about something that I've experienced in the past 6 days. Well, past 5 days. I was diagnosed with COVID-19. Started feeling sick last week. Had a runny nose, stuffed up, had a cough. And yeah, I decided to get tested, and I tested positive for COVID-19. Now, the new rules with the restrictions and stuff that are basically non-existent at this point state that you don't even have to self-isolate anymore. But the rule of thumb, if you are going to self-isolate, is about 5 days, I'm pretty sure. And I chose to self-isolate because I didn't feel very good. I didn't feel like spreading any of the symptoms to anybody else, even though I am vaccinated. And if I wasn't vaccinated, I do believe that I would have felt way worse, but that's just my opinion. I mean, I don't want to get political here on that, but yeah, just talking about my experience with COVID-19. I mean, I ended up isolating in this room here for 5 days. So from Friday to Tuesday, this is the room I do all my shows in, of course, that I'm in right now. I isolated in here for about 5 days, and let me tell you, it gets pretty boring after a while. Just doing the same things, watching TV, playing video games. I mean, those are fun to a point, but I think having COVID-19 opened my eyes to it's just if it does end up coming to the point where you do have to self-isolate, and I haven't been doing this throughout the time of COVID because I haven't had COVID up until that point. It was my first ever time testing too, and man, I'll get into that in just a moment about how that test went. But yeah, isolating for 5 days, it was boring, but I was lucky at the same time, even though I did get bored of watching TV and playing video games. I wouldn't say I got totally bored of it, but it just got repetitive. Yeah, I mean, if what am I trying to say? If you do self-isolate, it gives you a lot of time to think, and gives you a lot of time to do some things that maybe you haven't had a chance to do. With me being by myself here alone for about 5 days in my basement. Yeah, it was a very interesting experience for sure, no doubt about it. And I'm happy that I've been able to make a full recovery. Feeling way better now, and yeah, I wasn't feeling awful. I'd say that my symptoms that I had were allergy symptoms, and I have seasonal allergies, so I know the feeling all too well. And yeah, I mean, in my opinion, if I wasn't vaccinated, I think I'd be far worse off. But hey, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I wouldn't. But the COVID-19 test, yeah, I did the home test, and that was not very fun, let me tell you that. I'm sure that there's people watching that have tested. I mean, I feel like that's a given that there's got to be at least some people that are watching this that have tested. And yeah, I had to do it myself, and I tried sticking that thing up all the way, and because that's one of the ways to test. You can also just swab around in your nostril, but yeah, it hurt. Trying to go all the way up. It was something that I was not looking forward to. I had nerves before it because I wasn't looking forward to it at all, testing. But yeah, I mean, just a very, very interesting way that you test for the COVID-19 virus if you are having one of those home testing kits. But yeah, my eyes watered. didn't feel like sneezing after, which, feel like I might have felt like sneezing after, but I didn't. But yeah, I mean, just talking about it, COVID-19 testing, not very fun. Self-isolation, even though you're not required to anymore in the province of Manitoba, was boring, but it wasn't too bad at the same time, I'll say that. So yeah, that's gonna do it for Graham's opinion, everybody. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this new type of style of this segment. I'll be doing different takes like that throughout the foreseeable future here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. So if you enjoyed Graham's opinion today, I know a bit different, not talking about pro sports this time around, be sure to leave a like, a reaction, or a comment down below on your thoughts on today's segment. But yeah, we're going to take it to a commercial break here. To end off today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba, I'm going to be giving you some final words. You're watching Manitoba Show here on Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. Stick around for more after the commercial break. Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba, everybody. Manitoba Show brought to you by AETi, Evolve Green, and Fabricland Winkler. Special thanks to those three brands for sponsoring today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. And this is going to mark the end of Rise and Shine Manitoba for this week. The last ever show I've done that I'm doing in March for this calendar year. Next time I'll be talking to you guys on the show will be next week. It'll be April then. So yeah, stay tuned for that coming up next week on Rise and Shine Manitoba on the network. An all new episode coming up next week at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time. You can catch it on our network at ASTV Productions on Facebook, our Twitter at Amateur Sports TV, or on our website at amateursports.tv or astvproductions.com. Also, be sure to stay up to date with the guest list of that episode, who will be on the guest list. That will be released sometime on Tuesday, probably on Tuesday night coming up next week, on our Instagram at ASTV Productions, on our Twitter at Amateur Sports TV, as well as on our Facebook at ASTV Productions, where you can find the guest list for that episode next week. I want to give a special thanks to Gordie Tumilson for coming on today's edition of the show. A special thanks to you, the viewer, for tuning into today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. And yeah, I guess that's all for me today, folks. Like I said earlier on, just before the break, hopefully you enjoyed Graham's opinion today as well. Looked a bit different. And yeah, was happy to be able to, excited to be able to change it up a bit. It was kind of nice just talking about, some different stuff other than pro sports for this segment, talking about sports still in terms of just amateur sports. Also talk about just my thoughts on ODRs and how great they are, as well as talking about my experience with COVID-19, which I've recovered from and have tested negative. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Be sure to play back any live video moving forward here on the network as well on our new media player. If you are on our website at amateursports.tv, as if this episode continued to go and you wanted to catch what I said earlier on in the episode, you can now rewind live broadcasts as they go, which is a very cool feature. So check that out for sure on our media player online on our website at amateursports.tv. But until next week on Wednesday, folks, I've been your host of Rise and Shine Manitoba, Graeme Forsyth, giving you the salute and a peace out on this Wednesday morning. Until next week on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time, when an all-new edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba comes to you live on the network. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday today. Stay safe out there. Go out and enjoy the nice weather if it's nice where you're at. Have a wonderful rest of your week and have a wonderful weekend as well. And until we see y'all next week on Wednesday, 7 days from now, we'll see you then, everybody. Peace out, everyone.